just going to do quite a leisurely journey through this track. This is a new release, I Need You, and it's available at the moment exclusively at Tracksource. And let me take you through some of these elements. So it kind of kicks off with this piano. And what's interesting about this, that it's the instrument is the Micro Piano Plus from Meat Beats. So this has got a very kind of distinctive, old school, quite bright piano texture. And it's got great energy to it. And also what's happening is that if I just show you here, these are the chords which are used throughout the track. But you can notice that these are not playing in chords, and it's very clear. This is running through the arpeggiator. So it's creating that kind of alternating on and off beat. Kind of melodic aspect. Play down quite low. So, I want to point out the interesting thing about this is that I didn't play it in like that. It was literally me copying and pasting chords that I've got elsewhere in the track, which are the main kind of polysynth chords, the main kind of hook in a way. I just literally copied them down onto a new track, put the arpeggiator on, chose another instrument as a contrast. Originally, what I was going to do there was, in a way, have an arpeggiated section in kind of 16th notes. And then it kind of becomes something different. And I just thought, no, I don't want to do that this time. Took it down an octave, and then it kind of came alive. So it feels like this kind of low piano riff. But it was all done just by chance, really, just by discovery. It wasn't a super conscious effort to make it that way. But it definitely has a kind of... it's like a kind of signature wake-up kind of thing. If that's being blended in the mix, it's very recognizable at the very beginning. I'm not really going to spend so much time on the beats here. They're all programmed. You can see that all of the elements here. Ableton Live drum rack with hand-selected sounds. But let's take a look at some of these musical elements. And I mentioned that the chords are replicated all over the place, and there's almost like a kind of alternating kind of call and response going on here, which is something I do a lot. You'll hear that all over my stuff. Let's just come back onto this section here. So I'm going to focus on these two instruments. There's a string and there is an organ. And these are working, in partnership with that piano. So if I bring that back, not this one, let's do this. I've unsoloed the others. So the instruments that I'm using here, if you're curious, I've got for the string, the Korg Triton, and this is the classical music patch, which is a great string sound. Then the organ is actually an M1, but it's not the classic M1 organ that we know from things like Gypsy Woman and so on. This is the BX100, which has a real kind of texture to it. Let me play that to you in isolation. Cuts through really nicely. And in fact, what I'm doing there is you can see on the EQ, I'm brightening that up a bit. So that's that intro sequence. Let's go a bit further. So we got some new elements. The polysynth, right? This is really distinctive. I use a lot of these kind of brass polysynth elements on my tracks, and this is a nice one. This is a custom patch that I put together with a UAD synthesizer, which is a Polymax, and it's got a real nice vibe to it. It's just pretty simple, you know, it's a sawtooth, and it's running through filter modulation. You can see that all in action here. So that's working really nicely in combination with some of the other elements. Let me bring in the bass. So if we have these two working together, and what I did to allow these things to get like space, because the synth brass, you know, the polysynth, is quite weighty. You know, it's got some quite low frequency energy in some of the low notes. So yes, I used the EQ here, but equally, I wanted when the bass was playing for it to kind of dynamically be affected by the bass and reduced at the same frequency level. So this allows for, in the sections where there's no bass, for the polysynth to be strong, to in a way kind of fill out that bottom end area. But then when the bass line comes in, it kind of takes a back seat on the bottom end. And that's happening because of the track spacer. So if I bring this up, this is receiving a sidechain in from the bass line. So you can see that happening here. And I felt that just made things sit a bit more cleanly, but allowed, as I said, you know, for the polysynth to have enough bottom end on the sections when the bass line is not playing. So what else do I do? Okay, we've got a whine pad again. Gosh, I use this thing so often. So that's the whine pad from the M1 again. It's really just a sine wave with some chorus on there. Yeah, there's a little kind of breakdown section here then to pick up the energy again. There is an op. So what do I use for this? Okay, once again, the Polymax. So UAD, this is their synthesizer. I think it was another custom patch. I just used a default and tweaked it. So that's bringing a new energy in this section because, you know, ultimately you want to kind of avoid too much repetition. Even though there is repetition, it's like a new layer. And actually this section, there is a high string and there's a variation on that piano, low piano that we had before. And in fact, what I did here was I didn't use the arpeggiator. This time I actually played something in, but it's sufficiently different to what happened before. I'll see if I can find a section where you can hear that difference. So if we solo this and this. So that's different to this. And funny enough, I wonder if I heard a little mistake in there. Something felt slightly out of time. I think there is something in there. But anyway, it's when you listen to these things in isolation, you know, quite often I'm working really fast, you know, so it's all about keeping that vibe going. And actually some of the real kind of super granular detail perhaps gets missed. But then in a way, that's kind of like a magic kind of element, really. Sometimes the mistakes can actually sound good. Just coming back a bit, yeah, I mentioned the high string. Let's go into that. Oh, yeah, there's another organ here, actually. Now, let's have a look at this because this has a really nice, I was going to say organic. It's kind of like a pun, isn't it? It's certainly not deliberately. So what's going on here is there's some automation. And I'll expose that. So this is on the UAD waterfall organ, which is a really nice kind of Hammond organ. And I'm going to draw your attention to the break over here. Can you see it goes fast, slow? it's adding this kind of tremolo, like a fast tremolo. So it's a wobble to the sound. And you can see that I'm automating that to kind of bring the second portion alive in a way, in a new way. Then there's like a bigger breakdown section, and allows for everyone to get a bit of a breather, DJ to maybe start cueing some new elements in. The vocal hook keep going. Oh yeah, there's a pad. Yeah, so here's something new. Let's bring this one up. Triton again. And the instrument used here is called the pad. I've used this before. It's a nice kind of analog pad. It's got a kind of warm texture to it. So yeah, this drops down into like an extended section here with the organ, high string for tension, and then really it's just like dropping the elements out, tiny snare fill, and then back in again. But you'll notice actually that the vocal has got a much bigger kind of feedback on there now. So what I did was I automated that. Let me bring this up. So yeah, some very subtle automation. So you can see here the feedback's increased at that particular point, and just adds a bit more drama. I don't know why it's going up here because there's not actually a vocal there, but you know, when you're copying and pasting stuff, moving it around, sometimes that happens, but it doesn't matter because by then the vocal would have decayed down. I think that's it. Aside from some chimes here for atmospherics, at certain transitional points. I'll show you some of these. So these are just like keyboard notes played down. The instrument is called M1. It's the wind bells as a preset, running through auto pan, so it's moving it slightly left or right. Then also adding delay, like a ping pong I think it is. Yeah, so it's adding kind of texture. Afterwards, cascades of echoes left and right. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Yes, I need to be. So yeah, I'm getting some really, really great feedback on this. There's definitely an energy to this. And I've heard it in a few mixes already where DJs have played it and it jumps out. So I'm very, very happy with the sound of it. And once again, it's one of these things where it's a simplistic set of elements. Yeah, you can see that there's not a lot of stuff going on here, but well chosen and selected elements and enough of a contrast so things don't get too boring. So that's it. It's called I Need You, and it's available exclusively at Traxsource in the extended format. And yeah, thanks to everybody for the support. I hope you enjoyed the kind of rather informal and relaxed look behind the scenes.